I'm going to show you how to make PowerPoint documents accessible, or as accessible, I guess, as they can be. For those who haven't done any accessibility training at all, and there are a few of you, this is basically to make the document as easy as possible to read for people with all kinds of disabilities, but I think it's safe to say particularly for people who might be hard of sight or have no sight at all, and they might use a device called a screen reader to read documents because they can't see anything physically on the page. And this isn't a comprehensive list in the presentation. This is just some of the main things that you need to do. And there is a separate checklist which details everything that needs to be done and has some processes on there as well. So PowerPoint was produced to replace this very old device, the overhead projector, which some of us might remember. And Word, by contrast, was designed to replace the typewriter. So PowerPoint is not publishing software and it's not design software, even though it can do a lot with graphics. And as I've said, a lot of the things that you have learnt, for those of you who have learnt to make Word and PDFs more accessible, also apply to PowerPoint. However, because of the nature of the software, there won't always be a quick fix. So there is quite a lot more that you need to do manually to achieve the same results. So I'll just go through some of the important things. Document title. Some of you might remember this, and this is the same whether you're using Word or Excel or PowerPoint. You go to File, and then you've got your title field in here under Info. And this is where you would put in your title for the document. This is really important because otherwise somebody who can't see would just see the file name, and they might not understand what the document is before they read it. And as you can see from the screenshot on the Chrome browser, the title looks a lot neater when it's written out for the PDF as well. So a lot of things that work for people with accessibility issues might also work well for people who don't have these issues, and it just looks a lot cleaner. So when you're putting a PowerPoint together, just have a think of the reading order. You will remember from Word, you've got your heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, etc. Unfortunately, we don't have any way to tag these just because of the nature of PowerPoint, so it will be just a case of copying and pasting. From experience, these headers are a little bit small, so if you're changing the size, just keep them consistent, and that will be done in the Home tab. So you click into your box, and then you must know this, your size is up here. So just make sure that they're consistent. And just think logically, okay, I'm talking about a new subject, so I'm going to use a top header and then introduce it maybe with a secondary header too, etc. Then we come to slide numbers. So just like in the Word document, you would put in page numbers so that everyone, if you print it out, you always know which page you're on. You would put a slide number in on your slide. So go up to Insert, and then go across to header and footer, and there's a box you can tick here, apply to all, and you'll see your page number appears there, and that will be on every slide. So also thinking about reading order, and I think it's particularly important on a slide. You would know, if you can see this, you would know that you would start reading, probably the eye would be drawn here, and then you might notice there's a shape behind it, and then you would be drawn to the text underneath. If you can't see that, and there's lots of different individual elements on a slide, you need to be told how to read the slide. So you would go to Home, you would go to Arrange. This is where you arrange your elements, and then you've got something called the selection pane, and this pops up. So as you can see, there are a list of, this corresponds to everything on the page one by one. As you can see, it's given some predefined titles. They don't make sense. So slide number placeholder 3, well, it's slide 5. So you can change that in the field. Something that describes, here you go, page number 5. And then you can drag these into a logical order, because obviously the page number is probably not the first thing you're going to look at on the slide. You can check these by clicking on them. I recommend retitling all of these, especially if you bring in new elements. It will probably give it the same title, and you'll end up with lots of duplicates, just so that they make sense. And also, this is a good way to see if there's any kind of rogue elements sitting on your page. Sometimes, especially, and this could be if you get the file straight from the designer, that something might have slipped in, like a text box, and it might be hidden underneath something else and you don't know it's there. So it's really important that anything that's not contributing to what's on the page is deleted. So always think about how you would read the page, and unfortunately, if you do have a lot of elements on the page, that will be a fair bit of rearranging. And this is a step that you should probably do at the very end when you're happy with how the document is, because any changes will affect what's listed up here. So you could have it in perfect order, but you add some new things and then they end up misordered. Okay, so spacing. Always check your spacing, and always do this using the WYSIWYG editor up here. Never just hit return. And that's the same for Word as well, because every return is read as a blank. If you're making lots of space with returns, all somebody with a screen reader is going to hear is blank, 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 which is not very nice to read, and they might even give up because they don't know when it's going to end. So there's an icon up here. So click where you would like the spacing to be. And you can, as I move my cursor, you should be able to see that the text is moving up and down, so you can select the spacing that you require, but or should be able to. So always amend it in the WYSIWYG editor. Links, it's fine to do this in an email to find out here, see this here. However, in a text document, a link purpose should always be clear in the text, so that everyone knows this is the link and this is what it's for. So you can amend the URL here, so we should be able to grab that when it works. Oh, I don't know what that's doing. So basically, sorry, my computer is not behaving. So basically, if you can, I know my computer's crashing right now, which is really inappropriate, but the link should be around the find out how here text rather than here at the end. And make sure that links only are underlined. Don't underline headings, because that can just be confusing, or underline something just to make a point and highlight it, because people might be wondering where the link is, and that can be quite confusing. And also just make sure that links remain on one line. Make sure anything visual, whether it's an image or it's a photo, a graphic, has alt text. So to demonstrate, get rid of that. You select your image, right click, format picture. And then this little icon up here is where you put your alt text. So you can give it a title. So, and then just a little description. Just something simple that describes what it is. So if an image is decorative, like this little blue bar doesn't mean anything, it can be described as a decorative image, or you can describe what it is. I'm saying decorative image because in the newer versions of PowerPoint, there is actually, with these kind of images, there is actually a button you can click that just says decorative image. So I'm guessing that must be the way forward. If you have a graphic that is not accessible, perhaps with lots of descriptions on it, like a flowchart, you do have to describe every step of that flowchart and how A links to B, links to C, etc., so that everyone can understand it. And also consider color contrasts, which I won't go into because that can get a bit complicated. But logically, just think, can I read this? You know, how legible is this text across this color or across this image? So references, just like in Word, you want the name and then the date in the brackets. And then unfortunately, if you do want to create a bibliography, there is no quick fix for this. So it will just have to be a text box at the end of the document. If you're putting in tables, ensure they're just kept as simple as possible. Make sure there's no blank cells. Every cell has to be accounted for, so just put a dash if there's a blank cell. Some of this might be familiar to you. And again, make sure that you insert your alt text. Is it gone? Format shape again, and then remember this icon. So, table 1. So just, there you go, just a little description, just so people know what the table is and if they want to look at it. And then for a table as well, put a caption underneath. And again, that's just a case of inserting a text box because there's no quick fix for that, unfortunately. Then we come to, if you do want, I don't think I've seen any in the PowerPoint documents, but if you do want a table of contents, again, there's no way to do this. But what you can do is you can go to View, Outline View, and this will bring up headers up here. So you can copy and you should be able to copy and paste this list. If you go back to normal view, so basically you can just in the text. So you've got your kind of basic titles there, and you can just then manually rearrange that and match it up with the page numbers. And then finally, so just like pretty much any other software that you might be used to using, such as the Office suite and PDFs, there is an accessibility checker for PowerPoint, which is under Review. Hit Check Accessibility. It will give you a nice long list of different errors for you to check. But again, as with any accessibility checker, don't rely on it 100%. Always do your own checks because it doesn't always catch everything that it should. But it's quite good as a guide if you have missed something. And then finally, when your document is checked and perfect and ready for upload, please save it as a PDF before it comes to comms to upload, because then it's nice and quick for us just to get it on the website. And that was just a quick overview of PowerPoint.